is the D&D Dummy Club.
All right, and now we're live. Nice job there with the fucking dragon in your face. Once again, welcome guys back to the D&D Dummy Club. I'm Sean Crow, the Dungeon Master normally, but this is one of our special roundtable events where we just get together with some friends, old acquaintances and whatnot, or even people we don't know to talk about gaming, whether it's D&D or what other stuff they want. Over to the left of me is our friend Don Duggins. How you doing, Don?
Not too bad. Glad to be here.
And then our other original Dummy Club member, Dave Acosta. So, how's everything been going, Dave?
It's going all right.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Anything exciting this past week in gaming for you?
Oh, no. Just work. No gamings. I did actually make some maps.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Because for our
Yep.
future campaign, that's going to be pretty tight.
I can't show them, though.
Yeah, top secret.
Top
Top
secret.
secret stuff. So.
It's off camera right here, so look. We got it right here.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do the same thing with my kids for the
Yeah.
campaign.
Hey, show him the backside of the map so that he can see what they are.
Oh, that's convenient. Whatever works.
That's right.
We recycle.
Save the trees. I can use this for Dungeons and Dragons. Let me steal this.
For the sake of argument, we're just gonna say it's like kind of like using like recycling cereal boxes or something, but it's not. Oh, that's great. Oh man. So what you been up to, Don? How's everything going?
Not too bad. Got 5 kids, work nights. So I'm, if I seem off my game, given the fact that I work nights, the sun is up currently, so any intelligence checks that I roll are going to be at disadvantage.
Yeah, right.
So
yes, you are technically a night walker.
yes, yeah, I am a night walker. If you can't tell by the pasty skin, I imagine probably some glare coming off my head. I hate the sun. The sun hates me. There's not a good relationship there. We had a family vacation a number of years ago, and kids are out playing in the ocean, and I am literally sitting in a lawn chair underneath a concrete pier in the shade. So I have a several-foot layer of concrete between me and the sun.
Vampire.
I still left the beach with a sunburn. The light bouncing off of the sand into my shade was enough to burn me. So
Oh, yeah.
I think there was a movie in the early '90s called Powder.
yeah. So if I lost the eyebrows and the beard,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, I'm a chubby Sean Patrick Flannery. But so yeah, like I said, any fumbling over words, if I seem confused or stupid, I'm not really stupid. I think it's just my brain's everything's flipped. But as far as gaming stuff, I recently got back into D&D. My middle son, it was last year, he kept asking, he wanted to get this D&D thing he saw at Walmart. And I misunderstood him. I thought it was just like one of those board games. I know they did that with Magic the Gathering. There was like a Planeswalker board game where I thought he was talking about the board game. I'm like, whatever. I kind of blew it off. I'm like, okay, I will talk about it. Kind of, you tell your kids, we'll see. And parents all know what that means. So finally, he kept asking, every couple of weeks, he's like, hey, what about that? I'm like, well, we'll take a... So finally I asked him, like, are you talking about that board game? He's like, no. I'm like, wait a minute. Are you talking about, where you have, like, the rule book and the character sheet and the dice? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, boy, let me tell you something.
I can get you that.
In my time.
Yeah, exactly. So that, of course, that opened the
Let me tell you about the time when we raided this dungeon and he's like,
my
what?
dad was an adventurer before I took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I grew up absolutely just loving role-playing games. I'm a big fantasy reader. Everything from Robert Jordan to Terry Goodkind, David Eddings. Of course, yes, I've watched Game of Thrones. Yes, I hated the last season.
That was rushed.
Oh, it was just...
Hey, Game of Thrones guys.
Well, it's like you see so many shows that get to the final season, and you can tell they're milking out extra seasons. They've gone past what they actually had story for. They've gone past what is good. They jumped the shark. And they get to those final seasons like, okay, they're doing this for the money. They're just stretching out because this show is a cash cow. And then you get to a show that's an actual cash cow that people want more seasons, and they botch it. I'm like, why would you do this?
When they revealed the Mountain, undead version of the Mountain, he looked like a bloated Darth Vader. I was like,
like
what
Star
the
Wars. I mean,
fuck
that's
did
not-
they do? Dude, it was bad. It was bad.
So, yeah, the words in the Hound to the people responsible for the final season, bunch of cunts.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, so that kind of started off. Of course, we bought the starter set, and I suppose I'll get to that in a minute. As far as my background, was in Boy Scouts. I'm actually an Eagle Scout, so my introduction to role playing games was in a tent with a lantern. In the wee hours of the morning.
Jamboree somewhere.
Yeah.
You would go camping, and one dude pulls a bunch of rule books out of his backpack. I'm like, well, what is this? What the heck? So staying up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and everything from earlier versions of D&D to Cyberpunk to Rifts to GURPS.
Yeah. GURPS was awesome.
Oh, GURPS was awesome because it was a blank canvas. You could do whatever you wanted. If you had a good DM in GURPS, I mean, you could go any direction, come up with anything.
Dave never got to play GURPS, but if he got to play it, he would love it.
Yeah.
I love that system.
Yeah, I'd say the only downside to GURPS would have been essentially, maybe for some people it was too open-ended. At least with D&D and Rifts and other role-playing games of that nature, you've got kind of a framework, you've got a storyline to work with.
Right.
GURPS was, I think its greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. So, staying up late, playing all kinds of stuff, everything from high fantasy to high tech, and then fast forward to now, I've got all these great memories of doing this stuff, of being a hardcore geek. I had a buddy in high school. His dad kind of had a setup similar to yours, where
Right.
it was done up. He was a hardcore gamer, and going over to his house was awesome. When he would set up a story, he went full boat. He drew up all kinds of maps. He would create these whole worlds. And then now here I am, 20 some odd years later, here's my middle son going, hey, do you think maybe we could do role-playing games? It looks like it might be fun. And I'm like, oh, yes, son, come over here. So now I'm currently in the midst of, every other weekend when I don't have to work, running this campaign where most recently, I can't give any spoilers because, they're going to lock in on this, just try and see what's coming.
Yeah.
But we were talking about it a little bit earlier.
Turn off the stream, kid.
Kids, you're not allowed to watch this. So what started with just me and him, up late one night because my wife had to work the next day, staying up late, him waking up and getting attacked by twig blights has turned into his older sister and her boyfriend, and then my oldest daughter and her boyfriend have joined in. So now I got this whole group going.
Nice.
And what they went through most recently was basically bright flash facing one of the big bad guys. Bright flash, everything goes black, and the session ends. You're all dead.
That's cool.
And just what happened? Find out next time.
That's great.
So this most recent session, they essentially woke up in hell as their naked souls with none of their gear, none of their armor, and of course there's always the helpful NPCs. The NPC that shows up and say, okay, well, here's what you need to do next because you guys are going to get messed up if you don't do something about this.
Right.
Sounds familiar. We had something like that.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, it's how many GMs or DMs love the idea of taking their characters and just dumping them into a situation where they have no frame of reference, no idea how to continue, and that's
Sometimes it's needed.
Yeah, it shakes things up. It's sometimes you run into the situations where that's where the magic happens, where people are so caught up in the story, not knowing what's coming next, not knowing what am I supposed to do, what's the right thing to do, when the correct answer is whatever you want. I'm trying to break my kids of the habit of them turning to me and asking, well, can I do this? I'm like, you can do whatever you want.
It's funny watching
I'm going to tell you what the consequences are and what happens, but you can do whatever you want.
It's funny watching the other player characters that can't handle that happening. What do you mean? I got to roll. I get a roll or something here. I don't just go unconscious.
Yeah, we
You know.
last year's game that before we, started this adventure online, we were recording it, but like I said, the audio was not. Woo, it was rough. But we had a situation like that where the group did not want to go along with the program, and I'm like, no, you guys all are unconscious. And they're like, no.
I got this
like,
on my
trying
character
to-
sheet that says,
They're like, no.
I'm immune to magical sleep. You can't do this to me.
The rules, but the rules, but we get a roll. I said, no, you don't. You've been poisoned. No. Like when they're having like a feast on this ship, and they're amongst friends, but 90% of the group decides, well, no, we're not going to eat any of the food for the feast. We're going to eat our iron rations that are in our backpack because those are better. I'm like,
Little do you know, I poisoned those too.
I'm just like, you guys are so full of shit. Like it's like the weakest metagaming possible. I looked at him. I'm like, well, now I got to pull the old DM rules on you where it's my game.
it happens.
It's like,
It
oh,
happens.
you forgot this little part of the rules. Where is it? It says it. Oh, it's not written down, but it's there. I am God. I get to say what happens to you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's always a good thing. Getting back to your kids now, Heather said something. Your wife said that your son checked out our podcast or whatever when we first started
Yeah.
going. She was like, "Oh my God, you guys, that's so cool." I'm like, "Trust me, it's been a work in progress. we're still trying to, get all the bugs out of the system." Oh man.
So yeah, he's it's funny how much we connect on stuff like that because each one of my kids, I've got something that they're into that I'm also into, and then that's an avenue for us to bond and spend time together.
Hey
But-
Dave, can you hit the door?
Oh, yeah.
But when you've got a large, troop in the house, it's hard to manage time spending with each one, without me essentially giving up my entire life.
Right.
So, I'm a guitar player. So my oldest son is a guitar player. So then, we'll do our thing. We'll do guitars, and we can bond over that. And then I still actually get to play guitar.
Right.
And they've got my middle son, like he's getting into the RPGs and stuff, and we can play that together. And it's like, okay, cool. I still get to have fun too. So, I get to spend a lot of time with each one of the kids without basically turning myself into, this is my entire life just for my kids. That's all I live for.
Right.
So it's great. We get closer, and it's definitely opened up the floodgates. Stuff that I kind of forgot about it. I'll admit I wasn't a gamer for a long time.
Yeah, same here.
But the moment he started talking about that, and the box shows up in the mail, and we're opening it, and I'm looking at the artwork and the character sheets. and
Oh,
I
it's
see
awesome.
The dice spill out of the bag, and I'm like,
Gets those gamer
Oh,
juices flowing.
oh,
You're
yeah,
like,
it's-
ooh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's like you walk into a place you haven't been in how many years, and that's the smell hits your nose. It's like, oh, I'm back.
Yeah, and getting back to your point about your son at Walmart, they actually have all the books there now too.
Yeah.
They got the Player's Handbook, DMG. I seen it the other day. I go, oh shit, and Target has been carrying the books for a while.
Yep.
And they're a lot cheaper than hobby stores. They got they give like a 15 or 30% off. I'm like, sweet. Like I got this. It's 4 or 5e, but it's a book on non-player characters.
Nice.
$15
For hardcover.
hardcover.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I've actually used a couple of the NPCs for the group out of here. It's
So is that-
nice.
So is that kind of like the NPC version of like the monster manual? where
Yeah,
you've got, like,
yeah,
stat
yeah,
points and
but
backstory?
it's got like background stories on the NPCs and like their motives.
Mhm.
They're gonna act this way, but this is what they really want, or oh, they actually want that, or you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, even if you don't use it,
it's a nice
word
reference.
for word, word for word out of the book, you still
Yep.
got, that's fuel for creativity. Like, oh, I like the story, I'm going to tweak it, and then boom, slot it in.
Yeah, it's really cool. But no, to see that stuff have a resurgence, because I remember when we were kids, you could get like the basic set at Kmart. They sold.
Mm-hmm.
Kmart was like the Walmart of the '80s.
Yeah,
You know.
gaming stores were a lot
And
fewer
Walden
and further
Books.
between.
You had to go to Walden Books, or any like Leisure Hours was the only gaming store in this area for years. They were the only show in town here, and then like Walden Books. Now there's other places like Paper and Plastic. That's another good gaming shop. There's other ones that we don't really talk about because well, we have our reasons.
No plugs for them.
Yeah, hey, I'm sure at some point they're going to want to talk to us, and when they do, well, the price just got higher.
Yeah.
It's always the best. It's always best to negotiate from a place of power. So.
Oh yeah,
We'll just
that's how it goes.
cross your fingers and hope for that day. But that's another great thing that I've noticed, that there's a definite resurgence in the popularity of RPGs. And I remember when I was a kid, you had to be a geek to be in the role-playing games.
Mm-hmm.
Me in high school, I was just, as far as like fitting into any of the the classes, the geeks, the dweebs, the jocks, the stoners.
It's still pretty geeky.
Oh,
but
but now it's cool. It's like
exactly.
chic.
It's much cooler
Yeah.
now. I
It's like
would say
people are-
cool, but it's a lot cooler.
Yeah.
More acceptable anyway.
People are going out paying $300 for a pair of jeans that look like you actually work for a living.
Yeah.
And now being a geek is cool, but me personally, I didn't fit in anywhere. I played football. I started both ways, but to the other football players, I was a band geek. Because I played saxophone and guitar in a band, to the band people, I was a jock. To the
You were an outcast in every setting.
Yeah, so I was in honors classes, but to do the other honors, I wasn't a fellow nerd. I was one of the jocks, and I got used to not fitting in anywhere. But then that's one of the great things about RPGs is that you can take all of that stuff that you can't control in real life. All the times there's a great scene from True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Was it Bill Pullman who's trying to sell him the car?
Oh no, Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, yeah.
Bill Pullman, dumbass. Yeah, see, there's that fail in the intelligence check. But that scene where he's trying to sell him the Corvette, and he's just on and on and on and on, and on. Schwarzenegger thinks his wife is sleeping with a dude, and then you just see him slam his fist into his face, knock him out, blood's coming down, and like, oh my god, he just did that, and then it snaps back, and he's still driving the car, and Paxton is still like jawing away at him, like, oh, it's all in his head, and like, I know what that's like. It's like all the situations where something happens to you, and it's like, oh, I just want to punch this guy in the face, or oh, I can't believe he talked to so and so like that. I want to stand up for him. It's like, but I lose my job, and I got to feed my kids, and I got a mortgage. It's like all the stuff that you can't control. The idiots that you run into, the people that just don't care about anybody else. Playing RPGs is your chance to, like, I'm not a geek or a nerd anymore. It's not that I don't fit in anymore. I can be whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. And the consequences, well, sometimes you end up with a dead character.
I am neutral
But-
evil. I can do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's okay.
So it's cool to see, something that was kind of taboo that when we were kids, maybe you got made fun of, like, oh, you play with those role-playing games, go roll some dice, haha. It's turned into something that, it may have been a shelter for people when we were younger. It seems to be kind of moving into the mainstream where, the next generation of gamers, rather than kind of having to hide it somewhat, it's being encouraged.
And
it's growing. It's
funny
flourishing.
how like you bring up like your background with us back in the day when we would go like up to Gen Con and that, which was like the mecca of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't look like we fit in at all. So they're looking at us like, who are you guys? Fuck, we're actually really good role players, but we don't look it because we play sports and I played hockey. Like I'm a brawler. Like I'm not afraid to like. You're not going to talk shit to me because you're probably going to be picking up your teeth, because that's just how I am. But I'm also a good role player, and so jocks aren't going to make fun of me because they know my reputation exceeded itself. So they're like, I think he plays Dungeons and Dragons. Say something. I dare you.
Well, that's like the thing. You got guys like Henry Cavill has become like the patron saint to nerds everywhere. That's the thing. Not really role playing, but I'm a big Warhammer guy too.
Right.
So I've got multiple armies. I've got a 4x8 table in my basement. I've got like a resin river and all this stuff going.
Oh, I know. Yeah, Kevin was saying you guys have been doing that for a long time.
Oh yeah,
too.
well, Kevin was the one that got me into it, and it was very similar to my introduction to RPGs. Was just like, hey, check out this book, and then I'm like, oh, this seems kind of interesting, and I'm paging through it, and then like I bought the starter set. I'm ready to go. Let's paint some stuff. I mean,
Now, I didn't look it up, but I knew when we were going to have you on, I wanted to ask, wasn't Warcraft really originally a Warhammer expansion before Warcraft became World of Warcraft Online?
I honestly don't know. That would be a question for Kevin.
Because I could have sworn that Warcraft was like a version of Warhammer, but it was like all medieval battles.
Well, Warhammer has like its two primary facets. You have like Warhammer 40K, which is like all the futuristic stuff. You know, you get your Space Marines with their extra hard and extra long and firing essentially, rocket-propelled grenades as machine guns, which who wouldn't want one of those? And then they had like the fantasy version that would be more like your World of Warcraft type stuff. But if I remember correctly, Warhammer got its start a long time ago, back in late 70s, maybe early 80s. It started
Maybe
out as
that's what it came from.
Yeah, it started out as one of your like box set tabletop games called Space Hulk, and basically you got the box and you open it up, you set it up, and you were inside like a derelict spaceship. And one player was the Space Marines and their power armor and all their stuff with their advanced weapons, and then the other player controlled these aliens called Gene Stealers. And then it kind of just morphed and grew from that. I mean, it's gotten huge, but to see the guy that played, the Man of Steel, whether or not you like the movie, that's another issue. I think of him, far more often as dude is the Witcher.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
And but to see him,
I think he's a good actor.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
He did a great job as Superman, I thought.
Yeah, and then you can't blame a single actor or even multiple actors when a movie is kind of falls flat on its face or just it ends up stale. But I saw an interview of him. I think I was watching an interview with him on YouTube, and he has to pause the interview. He's like, hold on a minute. He's like, I got to say this. That chandelier over there looks just like a Blackstone fortress, which is a piece of lore from the 40K universe, and it's fun seeing stuff like that.
Now, was he was a big 40K player? Or?
Yeah, I mean, he's put stuff out there of him like, COVID, like when COVID started, it's like, trapped in my house, so here I am. He's posting up pictures of him painting his minis and stuff.
Right.
So that was Warhammer was another thing too, where it's just like, and even my wife will make fun of me. She's like, "You're such a child." I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
Yeah.
I'm gonna go down to the basement and play with my little plastic army man.
I know Platt got into Warhammer. He back in the 90s when we.
Oh yeah.
But I couldn't buy into it just because of how expensive it was for all the fucking armies. I'm like,
it is definitely cost prohibitive.
This is a pricey adventure, and
it wouldn't be that pricey for us now, but back in the day.
Yeah, but back in the day it was pricey. I mean,
Right.
now we got good jobs, but back then I was like, and I was hung up on, miniatures that, were solid pieces, where most of them you got to put together. You got to trim them, you got to stamp them together, glue them, or whatever it is.
Yeah, you look at it,
It looks almost like a model, like the old car models that you would buy. And I'm like, I had a hard time with that. I'm like, and I got to pay this much money, and I got to build this shit?
Yeah, it's like checking yourself out at Walmart. It's like, wait a minute, when did I start working here? I got to scan everything and bag it myself?
Yeah, fuck this, I'm going on break, and this is free.
That's the thing, that's one of the aspects of the hobby that I actually love. I was, like I said, full-on geek credentials. I built models when I was a kid. I was really into like military aircraft and stuff, and and cool cars. So I painted models, and so when we got into it, I'm like, I know how to use super glue. I know how to paint shit. So, but yeah, that's a whole different world from things like D&D and everything. D&D, it's like, I don't have any money. It's okay. Here's 2 sheets of paper, a pencil, and go to Amazon or Walmart or whatever, and set of dice is $6, and you can open that all up. Whereas Warhammer is just like normal armies around 2,000 points, and you're looking at
a lot of dough.
Yeah, hundreds of dollars buying all the models. And then you got to assemble them and paint them and everything.
And you remember, like with the old D&D sets, when you would get the dice that came in the box set, it came with one crayon to color in the numbers.
Yes.
And then you would have to use a Kleenex to wipe off the excess.
Yep.
Does that make me old?
And then you roll it, and like the wax would fall out. It's like, oh shit.
I think it's for me, like with my kids, because like my oldest is going to be 28. He liked playing like Magic the Gathering, the card games and stuff with us, But the D&D thing, he's kind of talked about it a little bit, but he's kind of like, I think that's stupid. Like he still has that jock mentality. Like, I don't know, Dad. And then he's come by and seen what we've transformed our game into, and he's just like, really? This is what's going on? I'm like, well, you want to play? We'll find a spot for you. But my youngest, my 13-year-old, is like, nope, it ain't happening. He's like, he goes, Dad, I play football. I don't do that.
No way, Dad. I do want to get laid at some point.
I'm just like, yeah, okay. Well, even my wife, she will hate on the game, but yet she's watched every episode. And I go, and even now with the current situation, she still watches the episodes, and I go, okay, well, cool. And then she throws no shade on like the miniature. She's always like, well, oh, that looks really good. Can you show me that one you were working on? And I'm like, I thought you don't like this game. I'm like,
that's stupid.
Yeah.
What is that over there? Can you give me a closer look at that?
Hey, is this an actual miniature, though? I mean...
Well, yeah, it's still a miniature. I mean, a miniature person is about this tall, but in real life,
You'll like that. Because that one, the other day, Sandra had put up Easter decorations, and after she left, I came down here and I grabbed the trusty Tiamat, and I put it up there amongst the Easter decorations in the living room. And so she came by, and she's like, what is that thing over there? I go, oh, that's the Easter Bunny. She's got 5 heads.
Yeah,
I go, that's how I decorate.
From that Easter Bunny.
I go, that's how I decorate.
Damn right. That is
Now, if I could find little Easter rabbit ears for all 5 heads, I'd put them on there just because.
That would be cool.
Etsy or Shapeways, man. Have somebody 3D print them. Actually, paper and plastic, don't they have?
Yeah, they do 3D printing, but we also have our own player, Eric, who plays in our game. He's gone down the rabbit hole of 3D printing to the where every night he's like he'll like video call me because Eric lives in Wisconsin. He's our player that drives from Wisconsin.
Oh, that's a haul.
Yeah.
2 hours
Oh, yeah.
each way. He every night he video calls me. He's like I got a problem. It's like I just
Check this shit out.
He's like I just
I open the bottles of resin. I'm just like,
yeah. Well, he started off with a regular 3D printer, and then he just bought a resin printer about a month ago, and he's constantly bringing me miniatures to paint. He's like, dude, I think I got a problem. Well,
it's like a gateway.
there's a new miniature that I'm going to be working on next. He ordered because he didn't want to print this one because he's seen this one online. He ordered a Tarasque, and it came. He called me yesterday, day before. He's like, "It's here." I'm like, "Oh," and it looks wicked. I'm like, "Oh boy,
Run!" Nope, he's faster than me. Heart attack! Come on! Play dead.
Yeah.
So you start pulling your boots off. What are you doing? I run faster without my shoes on. You can't run faster than that. Don't have to run faster than that. Just have to run faster than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time considering it. It's the same thing. My middle son, he's asking for this, and he's also into Warhammer too. So he's got an army that he's going nuts over right now. World Eaters, which are basically a bunch of like completely berserk, insane. Again, think like a berserker or barbarian or whatever, and
Right.
full on blood rage. Only he's 8 feet tall, wearing power armor, and he's got a chainsaw axe. So we were talking about, maybe for Christmas, do a printer. And wife's like, "That's for you." No, it's for both of us. We both use it, and I've been kind of hesitant to dip my toes into that pool because I know I'd be just like him. I'd be just, get the, start out small, maybe get like a plastic printer, eventually, get a resin printer, print a couple miniatures, and the next thing you know, I'm walking, I'm like, look at my new belt buckle that I just printed up. Look at this. Everything in the house is going to be, 3D printed, painted up. So,
Yeah, Eric,
what do you got there?
Eric printed that one up.
Oh, nice.
That's Beholder.
Mm-hmm.
I still got to paint it, but
That's awesome.
that's not on the resin. That's his first printer.
Oh, so that's like the ABS or whatever?
Yeah, Yeah, the spools.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's pretty impressive.
It is.
Put that one in front of the camera.
Which one?
Yeah, right in front. The blue one that's...
Oh, there we go. You guys can see what I'm looking at.
There you go.
Not bad. Good amount of detail. There doesn't seem to be any, like... You know, a lot of times some prints, you'll get lines running through it, and you get striations and stuff, and you can't sand those out without losing detail.
Yeah, I got a big red dragon he printed up there, too.
Oh, that looks cool.
Yeah. That turned out really
Very
good,
awesome.
too. I just don't want to get it down and knock other minis in the way. So...
Yeah, that's as somebody who's been painting miniatures for a long time, that is one of the worst experiences. Because when I first got into Warhammer, and then some of the earlier D&D stuff too, I mean, it was all white metal. It was a single chunk of metal. So at least if you dropped it or something, it'd just bend it back into place.
Right. But
when you've lavished a particular model with like hours of work, and you've got everything looking just right, and you're proud of it, like I did a really good job on this, and then you turn around and jumps out of your hand somehow and hits the ground. You're like,
yeah. See, I got really big into BattleTech back in the '90s. I liked playing that.
Okay.
And
it's kind of like a Mech Warrior type.
Yeah, it was a Mech Warrior game. But all the minis back then were metal.
Mm-hmm.
And
the white metal stuff.
Yeah, and it was awesome. I had a huge collection of miniatures that I mistakenly left at Kyle's house. Thank you, Kyle, for letting your kids play with all those miniatures. Yeah.
They're gone.
They're gone. Yeah. Not cool. Anyways.
Yep.
I had to refrain. I had to really talk to myself to not kill them. I opened it's a big box. It's out there. I'll show you. It's empty
cool.
now.
Oh, is it empty?
Oh yeah. But I had
I'll show it to you later.
I had
easily
about $500 worth of BattleTech miniatures that you can't get anymore.
Oh no! I mean that's the stuff you're trolling
and
through
now,
eBay,
and now it's all plastic miniatures.
Okay.
And I just can't get down with the plastic BattleTech. I mean, I guess I probably could now, but I being an old metal miniature painter, the plastic ones now, it's kind of like I feel like I'm doing something wrong when I'm painting it. Like it's just like. Is this cheap? Like,
I'm cheating on my roots.
Yeah, like it's just. But I'm able to do some really good paints on some of this new stuff. So it's like my love for painting miniatures has come back. But yeah, man, I used to love BattleTech. That was a cool strategy, game.
Well, that's another one of the awesome aspects. Again, kind of a common theme here: the resurgence of the popularity in RPGs. And the cool thing about it is the accessories that come along with it. I mean, I keep seeing, social media, I get all these pop-ups. Of course, you make the mistake of, being within 30 feet of an Amazon Alexa device or something. Like, all of a sudden you're getting ads for it. But, really cool dice designs that are coming out. But I remember it used to be like, I'm going to play a barbarian. Okay, here's a dude with a sword. And that was your only choice.
Right.
I mean, now you can go onto like Etsy, or you can download files if you've got access to a 3D printer or have a 3D printer. Like, well, my character has this type of weapon, and he's his haircut is cut like this, and he's wearing this particular type.
And you
of
can
armor.
find it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
God, my son Alex, he's the one that got us all back into this. He found, and I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Hero Forge.
Yes. That started
Oh,
all.
I know.
Like, Dad, look at this guy I just made. And he's got like 30 people, 30 characters.
All our main
saved.
players in this game are Hero Forge miniatures.
Are they? Awesome.
Yeah, it is very cool. They do have a nice feature with them that I can because I'm a monthly subscriber to them.
Oh, really?
So I donate I think it's like $5 a month or whatever it is. But it gives me unlimited STL files. So like for the digital map, I can have digital miniatures on the table.
Okay, now that's cool.
Yeah. So like if you design your character on Hero Forge, I could actually look at that and recreate it.
Download it and then throw it up
under my account and throw it up on the map, like a dead version of you.
Oh, that's not ominous or anything.
Well, I mean,
hey, come over and play role-playing games. I can put a dead version of your character on my map.
Yeah, Hero Forge is amazing. It's but they got like a weird disclaimer going on there where they're like, you you can't use their stuff for profit. And I'm like, well, but if I'm using you to make my character, didn't I pay for that? And it's like their disclaimers, like, yeah, you're paying for the material, but we own the rights to the character that you create.
Yeah, this is kind of like one of those weird things where, Facebook got into trouble with this a number of years ago where, you put your pictures up on Facebook. Well, they're no longer yours anymore. We own the rights to those now because you made a public domain. And it's like, yeah, maybe I'll just, I'll go print my own stuff instead of running the risk. But
Yeah, one of our viewers just said that he sculpts his minis with clay.
that's
Pretty
awesome.
cool.
I
Yeah.
have, for that viewer, I have experimented with green stuff. So nothing too crazy. More often older models where like something about it wasn't right, or maybe I pull it out of the box from when I was a kid and it's missing an arm or something. So I got to kit bash something, grab an arm from another model, but then you've got a gap.
Green stuff is actual modeling clay. I also have just experimented with that for a mini that Eric had made for me. It's a 2-part frost giant that I needed to make the seam disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a set of sculpting tools and
Yeah, like dental picks and
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Is it safe?
yeah, that's cool. But stuff works great.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But to that viewer, mad props. If you could sculpt, again, my son Alex showed me a video of this guy that he starts with like a wire framework, and it's out on YouTube. I think if you search like Dragon Lamp or whatever, and this guy starts with like a wired framework, and you see him just like rolling little pieces of clay, and he just rolls it, and then he sticks it on there, and it's just like, okay, my 5-year-old could do that. Just roll a little cone of clay and stick it on there, and then he starts smoothing it out. Like, okay, that's kind of impressive. And then he starts like cutting detail, and
You're
it's
like, oh,
almost
shit.
yeah, it's almost
Coming to
like
life.
yeah, you watch this thing come to life. from,
Giggle
like, the
Snort
bottom
Hotel.
layer Up.
Remember?
What's that?
The Giggle Snort Hotel?
I never watched that. I was a
That,
fan of
no.
Oh No, Mr. Bill show.
Oh.
Mr. Bill, or Gumby.
Yeah. Oh God, I watched. Wow, we're really dating ourselves. I
Yeah.
watched Gumby too. But yeah, so he's got like wireframe, and then he takes like cotton, sprays it black, and then it looks like soot. And then by the time it's done, I mean the quality level of the sculpt is every bit as good as that Tiamat. And then he starts painting and stuff. And it was one of those videos where like. I'm like, hey, watch this video. I'm like, I don't have 15 or 20 or however long the video was. I don't have time. I got to go do this. I got to run errands. I got to do that. And then I start watching, and it was one of those things. I forgot about everything else I had to do. I'm just like mesmerized. So anybody that can sculpt, I'm a bit of an artist. I can draw, but that's 2-dimensional. For somebody that can take that and turn that into 3 dimensions and shape something,
Right.
I can kit bash. I can do some green stuff. I can modify an existing model and like. This guy, I want a short sword instead of a long sword. I can cut the end off of it and then use my files and stuff to shape the bevels on the blade and make it look like it was supposed to be that way. But yeah, I haven't really messed with any full-on sculpting, probably because that's another thing. Like just with the 3D printer, I know me. If I get into something, I don't do it half-ass. It's like I eat, sleep, and breathe it. So last thing I need is my wife trying to kill me because I'm building like some, modeling studio in the basement. No, come down. It'll be cool. We'll reenact Ghost.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. Hun, I don't care at this point. I'm desperate. The kids are asleep. I'll be Demi Moore if you want me to be. But so yeah, that is very cool. I mean, but yeah, the amount of creativity that seems to have exploded out, and going back to my earlier point of you had a handful of things you could pick, those old white metal models, and
Right.
you couldn't really modify them because it's not like you could take arms off of something else because there were just a handful to choose from. But nowadays, look at between things like Hero Forge and different gaming systems, like that character looks really cool. I'm going to use it for them. I mean, you talked about kind of like cheating on your roots,
Right.
moving to plastic stuff, but at the same time, it's like, oh my God, there are so many options. This
Right.
is amazing. I mean, it's again just very, very cool to see that resurgence, and not just
hell yeah, dude.
resurgence, but the amount of the support and merchandising and stuff that's grown out of it. And
gaming has gotten so much more entertaining, and I mean, I really can't say expensive. It's what you want to make of it.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it is pricey because, well, we kind of set this high bar of when this adventure started over a year ago. I'm like, I'm thinking about blowing the dust off and start running a game, and
There was a bunch of weights here and
this was a full gym down here. The
punching
basement-
bag and
This gaming room was part of a gym that went all the way that way. And then the wife made a comment that she should have never made. She's like, "Well, why don't you sell all your gym equipment and use that to make your gaming room?"
is that a challenge?
And I said, fortunately, he was there amongst several other players because we were sitting around a cardboard, like a regular folding table, playing. And I go, "That's actually a good idea." So 3 days later, everything was sold. She wasn't expecting that.
Called the bluff.
Oh yeah, she even tried I could have that money. I said,
You told me I could do this, and I have witnesses.
yeah, I said,
I got this coming tomorrow. We're going to get this today.
Yeah.
We're going.
And I called up Devin. I go, "Hey, meet me at the Menards. We're getting the lumber." "We are." "Yeah, everything's sold." "Really? Is it there?" "No, it's gone. Everything's sold. Let's start working."
All right.
And we literally, I still got to get him from, but he's got like a photography log of how this all started from the blueprint that we drew on a piece of graph paper to what we have
To
now.
where we're at now.
Oh yeah,
this
dude,
is awesome.
it's turned out to be a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I got some pictures and video too.
Yeah. He's got some videos of me dancing, fucking
on the
sanding
table.
No, sanding drywall. My big ass.
So it wasn't just weights in the punching bag. There was a pole in the middle of the room too, right?
Yeah, right.
Do you have video of that?
No.
Yeah, I'll show you what I got.
No, that's as embarrassing. That video is probably not going to get approved to go online.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I think you'd have to definitely do an OnlyFans for that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, man, maybe. Oh yeah, the D&D Dummy Club has gone to OnlyFans.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very. That's not pleasing at all.
You need to get like some Oompa Loompa music from like
Thanks,
Willy Wonka.
dude. That's really nice.
Yeah, throw that in the background.
Yeah.
Well, come on, there's.
We want to put that on camera.
Yeah.
There's certain music that you put that behind the video.
Is it good?
I'll tell you in here in a second because there's a little delay. Yeah, it's good enough so they don't know it's me. Good.
right there.
Well, you just admitted to it, so no,
Well,
there it is.
The glare from the camera's light doesn't go good on the camera.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. Nice try. That wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
I'll say there's certain music that you put it to any video and it makes any video better. Remember the whole the Benny Hill theme song thing came out a while back?
Yeah.
That is one of my all-time favorite like early YouTube videos. It was like a commercial, and I suppose this will give everybody some insight onto where my sense of humor can run when the mood strikes me. It was a video about it was like an anti-mine commercial originally. And it was these bunch of girls playing soccer and they're running. Girl scores a goal and the dad's like, yeah, everybody's happy and excited, and then all of a sudden a mine goes off in the middle of the soccer field. And it's supposed to be like, you wouldn't stand for landmines here. Why would you allow them elsewhere? And it's raise awareness. And it was really kind of a touching commercial. But then some really soulless bastard, who I happen to find kind of funny, put the whole thing to the Benny Hill theme song. So it's just like they're running, and as soon as the landmine blows, and I'm like, oh, that's horrible. I could not stop laughing. It was funny. So I even used that on a coworker. We had this really interesting forklift that anybody's driven forklifts, it's just like driving a car in reverse. It's kind of easy to get. But because of some of the narrow aisles we have where we store some of flavorings and stuff, this forklift hinges in the middle. And it's just this big red forklift. We just call it red. But there's a learning curve on figuring out how to drive this thing. So we had one guy that Ben Bennington, I don't know if you guys remember him. Yeah. he's one of those people that could make a gum wrapper funny. I mean, just everything was a joke. But he hated this lift and was scared of driving it, couldn't figure it out. So he would, anytime he needed something, it's like, wouldn't make eye contact, and he'd come up like, can you guys get this out for me? So finally we're just like, dude, Ben, you got to learn how to drive this thing. Just get on there and do it. So we all wear radios at work, of course. So he gets on the forklift, and I'm in the control room, and I can see him through the window. And as soon as he gets on the forklift, turns the key, and starts to move forward, he sees it come on the radio, and then I see him from behind. He just like hunches down because he knows we're watching him, just laughing at him. Oh, makes everything funny.
Yes. Good old Benny Hill. I remember as a kid that was the only show where there was a possibility to see nudity.
Yeah.
On late at night. This was before HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This was before you had to watch like the scrambled
Yeah,
picture and
yeah.
squint.
Yeah, for a private channel. Yeah.
Triple ecstasy.
Yeah. I remember one of my buddies, his parents had the Playboy channel. I was like, whoa, you got the Playboy channel?
I don't even like him, but he's my new best friend.
Yeah. I'm like, this is awesome. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I like it.
So yeah, it's great seeing the progression though from like where you started with started with an empty room, because I'm kind of going through the same progression, but I'm much further back as a DM.
Right.
I just got to the point where I got a hold of a bunch of these. They're like laminated 2-sided maps. They're good size. They're
Right.
like 2.5 or so, by like 3.5 feet. So plop those in the center of the dining room table, but then they're laminated, so I can draw on them with dry erase.
Right. That's awesome.
So I can draw castles and outlines, and then of course, hey, I'm a tabletop gamer too, so I've got like buildings and stuff in the basement, so I can bring those up, plop it down, and then scale the same scale as the characters. So if I need like a castle wall or some ruins or something, throw it on there.
Yeah.
So
That's
like,
cool.
When you show me pictures of this TV setup, I'm like, honey, I gotta buy another TV.
Yeah, there's been several people that have. I won't use the word pirated, because I'm flattered that they're doing the same thing. But there's our buddy Tim that played with us last year. He just purchased the TV to run his system, and I was trying to explain to him the other day, like, because he needed help operating because I use what's called the Dynamic Dungeons program for the digital map. It's a really cool system. I highly recommend it. But if you've never used it, it has a huge learning curve. So I put many, many hours into learning the controls and the function keys to like make maps with this and to splice it into other maps and to create a world, so to speak, with that program. So I went over to his place because he was having a hell of a time trying to operate it. So I basically gave him like a 1-point lesson on how to operate that system. But our friend Tim sometimes he has a challenge of wanting to accept like what he had envisioned for his game. I'm like, look, he wanted to use his PC to run the map, and I'm like, his PC's up in his bedroom. I'm like, well, your game room is down in your basement.
That's gonna be a long cable.
But you can't do that. You need to have it in front of you so you can control the maps. Because pretty much I use this computer here to run that map system when I use it. I said, but you need to be right there to operate it, because it has a whole fog of war and everything in it, so I can slowly reveal stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
But
Where like you go into a dungeon and
right.
like, the room appears as you walk into
exactly.
it. Exactly.
So it makes it more realistic in that regard. But he's like, well, but I don't want my. I'm like, well, then you're not going to be able to use the system like it's intended. And because the way he wanted it positioned, it was like, well, everyone's going to see what you're doing. You can't let your party see what's in store, because that kind of defeats the purpose, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's like
fog of war. I can't tell where the rest of this dungeon is unless I look at that screen right over there.
Oh, I mean, this whole adventure of us with our game and what we do, it was like I really didn't know about like Critical Role before we started this. Like it was around because we were already running a game, and then I heard about Critical Role and I started watching their stuff, and I'm like, what? How much are they making? I'm like, okay, cool. And then I seen like Matt Mercer had like a custom DM screen, and I was like, oh man, I gotta look into how much one of those costs. So I went online, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I've seen
I
some
am
of those.
not paying fucking $400 for a custom screen when
Yeah.
I can make one myself. Like the skull, I did
Oh,
that
you did
myself. I routed that out.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, like I did all the
Yeah,
work.
like the decorative edges.
Yeah,
and,
I
you know,
did it all my. I'm like
Very cool.
hobby store, dude. I spent a total, I think, of like $50 in hobby wood, and I stained it, sanded it, stained it. I'm like, all right, this is. Okay, I just saved me a few hundred, DIY, your gaming setup, you know. And I purposely made it higher so for the laptops and stuff to have everything concealed.
Kind of a nice clean look.
Yeah,
too.
exactly,
Yeah, that I can sympathize with because, like I said, one of my other big interests is playing guitar, and I did kind of the same thing. There was a guitar that I really wanted. We had 2 kids at the time, and then, well, my wife and I divorced days, so between the 2 of us, we had 3 kids, and then we had together our 4th on the way. And I really wanted this guitar that I'd had when I was younger. That times had gotten rough when I was younger. Sold off my equipment to pay bills.
Right.
And so I'm like, I really want this, but I can't afford it. So I'm like, well, I could buy this old guitar body off eBay. It's kind of similar, and then I could just, I've got tools. I've got, sanders and, and Dremels and stuff. So I'm just going to have to bear with it and, until I get to the point where I can actually play it. So I took this thing and I modified it essentially into the guitar that I wanted.
Right.
But it was like halfway through the process, I realized I'm like, I'm having about as much fun doing this as I do actually playing guitar.
Right.
So same thing, that just kind of opened the door. Like once you figure out how to do any kind of woodworking, yeah. I mean, I've seen some of these DM screens that like they're carved and they've got multi-tone finishes and stuff. I'm like, that is amazing. And then I look at the price, I'm like, I'll stick with the vinyl one for now.
And we did a lot of like help with like other guys that we work with, like King Kong, Big Dave Sosong. He did the the guitar intro for our show.
Mm-hmm.
So he did that. Brandon Adams gave us a lot of insight in the beginning for our cameras that we use, our microphones, and then a dude at Best Buy hooked me up with our recording software, and I'm like, because I literally knew nothing about any of this stuff a year ago. It was like all right, well, I need to get this, and this, and oh boy, it's been a process.
Yeah, you jump in the deep end and try not to drown.
Well, it's definitely a learning curve. I mean, we've had our fair share of audio mix-ups and video cameras dying during the middle of filming and not realizing it. Like, I'm like, why is Dave frozen still? Like, we had several episodes like that where like Dave and Carl were frozen. This was last year before we started putting stuff online. And I'm like, what the?
Did you get a good pause? Like, was it like a stupid expression on their faces?
Oh, it was good because
Make a good T-shirt, probably.
Well, the kicker was I didn't realize it right away, so this went on for like a couple episodes, and I'm like, oh, those episodes are no good. So our video log, there's probably a good like 20 episodes that I just deleted because I'm just like, well, either the audio was just horrendous, using this little area mic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Whew, that was rough, dude. Using the Blue Yeti mics, definitely one of the best decisions that I went with for this so far. Down the road, if this thing, grows,
It'd be a good investment.
Yeah, our investments will be, our reinvestment will be like in like better cameras and that. But
I don't know if anybody wants to see me in higher definition.
Well, I mean, but for that, it just it lets us go with like a wider view and a better, like we can like be able to cover 3 people versus just 2 people, or
more advanced optics.
Yeah, more advanced
like
optics.
Not quite a fisheye lens, but the same, kind of a panoramic.
Right. Yeah, I mean, originally we started off just recording everything through the laptop. Now we've got this huge tower that just was built just for this. So hats off to Eric and Devin for getting that project done.
Yeah, it's a hell of a setup.
Oh yeah, dude, it's turned out really good. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun in the process. That's what we set off last year to do. Is like I wanted this to be like every game night when we get together for people to be like, oh man, I can't wait for next week, or when are we gonna play again,
What are these knuckleheads going to do next?
Yeah, oh yeah, because that's why we're called the Dummy Club, boy, because they got
We got some doozies.
Yeah, they do some stuff.
Well, that's that is some of the most memorable experiences you can have in gaming. And it doesn't matter if you're the GM, the DM, or a player. Those are the things that stick with you for years.
Oh, yeah.
And my son asked me if I was going to bring this up today. He's like, are you going to talk about that thing we did? And I'm like, which thing? I'm like, which thing you did? I mean, because there have been quite a few moments. But they were so proud of themselves. Again, this is in riffs, so I'm taking my love of fantasy and the high-tech aspect and just smashing them together. So they've got this. They managed to steal this. It's basically stolen. Got this massive armored APC.
Right.
And the main bad guy they're going up against is this massive black dragon, but he's in human form. So he's basically standing in front of this town that they're trying to save, and he's pontificating. He got caught monologuing. So as he's standing in front of the gates of this fortress telling you, let me in or I'm going to kill everybody, their response that I had no way, looking back, of preparing for. I had no idea this is where they would go. So they get this APC that weighs, I don't know how many tons, 30, 40 tons, whatever the thing weighs. They get it up to full speed, and they just run the dude over. So here's this badass that's all serious, and now he's like going underneath the wheels of this APC.
And you didn't expect them to do that?
Well, no, I mean, yeah. I should probably be worried about this kid when he gets his learner's permit and starts driving.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just as a game master.
That's the first thing I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean,
For whatever reason, it just wasn't those.
Let's put it this way.
It hadn't occurred to me, at least.
In our game, there's only been one time where I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't plan for that," and that was when Carl went upstairs in the end to go put his stuff away, and he heard the scream in the other room, and he goes, "Is there a keyhole? Can I look in?" And I go, "Yes, you can," and he goes, "Oh." I look in. All right, I'm going to Misty step through. I said, shit.
I forgot he had that.
I'm like, oh shit. I wasn't prepared for that. I go, okay, let's go. And then I'm like, phew, he's by himself because everyone else was downstairs. This is going to get interesting.
The scene from Serenity. What? No backup?
Yeah, exactly.
Start whistling.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love Serenity.
Oh,
Firefly was an awesome series.
Yeah, as far as sci-fi movies go, Firefly was amazing. But it's like if you're just talking movies, that is my
Did you ever watch
absolute
Firefly,
favorite.
Dave?
I don't think so.
Dude, you need to check that series out. It's going to be a little dated, but it still holds the test of time.
Yeah, and then the movie itself with the larger budget.
Yeah.
I mean, it stands up against anything.
Yeah. Watch Firefly and then watch the movie Serenity because it takes place technically after.
Yeah. I mean, the movie.
The movie sounds familiar.
Yeah, you've probably seen the movie.
Yeah.
But it's the series was amazing.
Oh, it's all amazing. It's one of those things that I think I've got. Yeah, you know what? I'll admit to it. I've got a bit of a bromance going on with Nathan Fillion.
Yeah,
I mean, even
awesome. Awesome actor.
I'm not much of a gamer, but playing Destiny and Destiny 2, when the first time I heard Kate Six's voice on screen, I'm like, oh, that's Mal.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those rare movies that it's like when you're telling a story, you don't want it to be just one dimensional. A good horror movie isn't just all horror all the time.
Right.
A good action movie isn't just all action.
Right.
Same thing with sci-fi. I mean, I think that's why things like Star Trek and Star Wars have stood the test of time, and why they get big, and generation after generation keeps getting interested in them, is it's not beating you over the head with one thing all the time.
Right.
Serenity is one of those movies that has that unique balance of love and hatred and action and betrayal, and it's got everything.
Now, did you get a chance to check out the Book of Boba Fett when that series came out?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, that's the other thing. Again, geek credentials. I grew up, with Star Wars and Star Trek. I'm not one of those haters.
I mean, I didn't hate on Star Trek, but it was kind of like I would watch it if there was nothing else on.
Yeah. See,
We had buddies that were diehard Star Trek fans, and I just couldn't get down with that.
See, I never understood the hatred with both.
Yeah, because you were cool, you weren't cool or whatever. I didn't care.
What was the movie Fanboys? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, look, a phaser. Yeah, we know. Yeah, we keep that in there to suss out Trekkie bitches like yourself. Because they were like the hardcore Star Wars fan, and they hated the Trekkies, and I loved it all. I thought it was all interesting. I thought both things had really different different flavors to offer.
Or Space 1990 or whatever it was. That was the
that's
other
going back.
generic offshoot of Star Trek.
Yeah.
It wasn't even Star Trek. It was like their whoever creator version of. They were basically trying to take advantage of Star Wars being such a huge hit in the 70s, and then there was Battlestar Galactica. But my favorite, that DVD was Buck Rogers.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Tweety.
Buck Rogers. Yeah, Tweety.
Tweety, right?
Yeah,
That's
well, you
even
can do
before my
boss.
time.
Yeah, Buck Rogers was the shit.
Yeah.
Man, I remember that episode with the vampire, the psychic vampire. He used his fingers instead of his mouth. His fangs were he had like two Coke fingernails.
I just remember Erin Gray.
Yeah,
That was it.
yeah.
That's all I remember.
She's still a good-looking woman. Even older, man. I'm like, damn, that girl's held up. Most women, when they get older, they don't age like that. They get a handful of age.
Is that Walter from who's the comedian that has he's the ventriloquist?
Oh, Dunham?
Yeah, Jeff Dunham.
Jeff Dunham.
And there was one line where he was talking about his wife, and he's like, "Oh, I hate my wife, blah blah blah." And of course, Jeff's like, "Walter, women age like a fine wine." Well, my wife aged like milk. I'm like, oh, it didn't sound too bad. Then you really start thinking about that was damn mean.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna
good.
have to remember that one.
Yeah, awesome.
But, so, what else we got?
I don't know. What do you got, Dave? You've been you kind of quiet tonight.
I'm just listening, man. I was going to talk about some magic items, but
Yeah.
you guys started talking about all those. I'm like,
Well, what
all right.
magic items you got?
Well,
What
I
were you
ain't
gonna
got
talk
shit.
about? You didn't? Well, I know you don't got shit, but what were you going to talk about?
I was going to see what are like some favorite magic items you guys like. If
So as
you're
far as,
fifth
in-game-
level, sixth level, something that's not crazy,
So I've got a huge list. I actually, on my phone, have in my notes thing, I have a list of stuff that, anytime I come across, I'm like, oh, I got to steal that. And my interests kind of split pretty equally between this is really cool, and this is an epic weapon, this is so awesome, and the other end of the spectrum is that is so retarded, it's amazing, I have to have that. One of my favorites recently that I ran into is called the coin cannon. And it's a crossbow that fires coins.
Oh, that's
But
like a knockoff of the cannonball one
Yeah.
with the anti-magic.
Yeah, you have the
ring.
anti-magic ring at the end of the barrel, so you fire a miniaturized cannonball, and as soon as it leaves the muzzle, it turns into the full-size cannonball. So
Yeah, Eric was talking about it. I am like, I am not letting you guys do that bullshit.
So yeah, I love the stuff that is either you see certain things that are iconic, and I believe firmly that plagiarism is the surest and most genuine form of flattery. So again, with my kids, I've spent a lot of time because they like the whole loot thing. I mean, that's an aspect of human nature.
That's it.
Yeah, they use it in video games. They use it in social media. It's always like, what do I get next? What do I get next? I got it. A game that would have gotten stale, long ago. You're still playing to see what loot drops. So that's kind of the system of reward I've used with them, where they, and as they level up, you need cooler gear and stuff. So I've spent a lot of time creating magical weapons that have different types of effects that are kind of keyed off to their characters.
Yeah.
My daughter likes all things that are kind of creepy for creepy's sake. So I came up with basically like a segmented sword that's like a sword whip. So it's all like serrated blades and stuff, and it's a sword, but then she can activate it, and it kind of each segment opens up, and then now it turns into like this serrated whip. And her eyes got real big, like, that's cool. I'm like, I know.
Nice.
Another one, I've got, kind of like a dagger and chain set up and, basically full on scorpion, get over here, throw the knife and it's got an effect where, you throw it, then you can either choose to rip it out or try and pull them towards you so it does additional damage, when it comes out. But yeah, I like the stuff that's just, you take things from your childhood. I remember when Mortal Kombat came out, going to the roller rink and playing it and seeing blood in a video game for the first time. Like, this is awesome. Here I am decades later. I'm like, I'm going to copy that.
Yeah, I always liked the immovable rod.
Yep.
Yes.
That's that was the other one. Portable hole. I've come up with many ways of getting myself out of jams with the portable hole. Or
now, see, I like the. I guess I don't know if it was the old way or our way that we played it. When you put a portable hole, you could actually go through a wall or something with it.
Right.
It was a portable hole. But now it's just a huge bag of holding kind of, and I'm like,
it's gone from like a Looney Tunes mechanism to
yeah.
Yeah, I don't dig that one. That's just to me that sounds stupid.
I was a big fan of the girdle of many pouches, which was like miniature bags of holding. Mm-hmm. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, we had another one, and I love when magical items, especially if you're homebrewing and you're creating them yourself, and you're like, okay, this is cool, it'll do this, and then you try to think of every permutation, and like we were talking about anticipating what the players are going to do,
right? And
you try to come up like, okay, I've come up with like 52 different ways they could use this, and okay, yeah, it's not overpowered, and then they come up with something like, I did not think about that, and then you've got to flip on the fly and figure out, okay, what does this do? And
I had something that did that.
There's another one that my middle son, he's like, when I told him I was coming over here today, he's like, are you going to tell him about the time we did this? I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll tell him. So here we are. So he was elated. He thought it was the coolest thing in the world because he had a skeletal horse. And basically the thing was, we dumped the bones out of a pack, could say a word, and then the horse would assemble itself into this, skeletal,
steed.
What?
Right, skeletal steed.
Yeah, and then he could hop on it, ride it around, but then, if he was going in somewhere and didn't want to leave the horse out there, he'd just say the word, it just drops into a pile of bones, he throws it in the pack, and then carries it with him. So he basically took one of the bones and rammed it inside of what they were fighting, and then said the magic word. So the horse tries to assemble itself. So now all these shards of bone and stuff are flying at this thing, and so I gotta sit there and think, okay, which is more powerful, the thing that they're fighting or the magic that binds the bones of this spectral skeletal horse together? And I'm like, you know what, that was really creative. This is kind of cool. So, like, they killed the guy, and he's like, yes.
Now, did you even see that coming at all? Like, that he did this? Like, it was. Happen?
The idea that like, this is really cool. You can ride this horse around. I mean, I'll admit I'm kind of creative, but it didn't occur to me that he was going to
use it as a weapon of mass destruction.
Yes, that like I'm going to take this bone and I'm going to ram it inside of something that's alive, and then cause the horse to try and assemble itself. I mean, that would be, to me, like if it was something that would expand or contract. Like I can make this really small. Okay, I'm going to hide it in this guy's food, or I'm going to stick, ram my fist into its maw and then, let go and then, try to expand this thing inside of it, blow it up from the inside. I mean, that's kind of classic, but no, that particular, there were a lot of other things I thought like, okay, they could use it for this, they could use it for that. I don't want it to be too overpowered. I don't want to, kind of break things. And then that's the struggle too, is you don't want to give one character something really cool and then leave everybody else kind of out in the cold, and they end up bitter, like, well, come on, I didn't get anything, and that's really cool. I want a cool magical thing too. So,
well, we got one guy in our current group that he's been begging for a magic item, and now in this game, it's been kind of lean on the magic items because people let that stuff get to their heads, and then other players get mad at, well, why did they have this? And it's like we're kids again. Like, and I'm like, dude,
why does he have that? Because he's not a bitch.
Dude, we're all in our 40s, 50s, in that. Like, it's like, I think our youngest player is, Devin's what, 44, 45?
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. He's young. He's probably our youngest guy. But anyways, they argue. It's like we're like all teenagers. I'm like, really, dude? It's like we're. Okay, but anyways, one of the guys has an item in. its true purpose hasn't come out yet, and basically he made the wrong deal that he should have made, and he's gonna learn the hard way. And I know when this comes out, he's gonna be like, well,
He's gonna be butthurt.
he's gonna be so butthurt, and most likely it's gonna be next Sunday's episode. We're gonna have a new game time, by the way. We'll be starting at 2:00 Central Time, and going till 8 p.m.
6 hours.
Yeah, 6 hours. So we're expanding our game 6 hours. It'll be a lot of fun, but yeah, and I don't have to worry about him watching this because he doesn't ever watch our stuff. So, but when it does backfire on him, it's going to be quite entertaining because it's instantly going to be we did identify on it, and you should have told me if it was cursed. Well, it's not cursed, and you never had to attune to this item. So, you and it was sentient, so it was able to hide its true form from you, and he's really going to be. Oh,
Congratulations on your magical rod of butthurt.
Oh, he's going to be so salty. So salty. Everyone else is going to get a good laugh. The fans are going to love it. Everyone but him is going to love it. And then we may have another spot open for the D&D Dummy Club. So if people are interested, if you're in the Chicagoland area, we're always interviewing new potential role players. And as long as you don't get butt hurt, we may consider you.
Yeah, that's another aspect that we were talking about earlier is that's some of the most memorable moments. That's the stuff that, decades later you remember. Remember that time this happened? That time I rolled a 1 and my sword cut my sword belt, my pants fell off and I fell over. I mean, and I think it was before we started streaming. I was telling you guys about this T-shirt that my stepdaughter gave me for Christmas, and it has a big D20 on the center, and it's got a 1 on it. So you obviously you rolled the 1, but on the top of it it says you reach out to push the orc off the ledge, and then the 1, and then below it says you lightly caress his arm. He is uncomfortable. It's just like, right. So I love moments like that where, there's the tendency like, I'm going to do this, I'm the hero in my own story, and I'm going to, slay everything, and I'm going to, and then the reality is the dice gods are fickle, and something happens. Like, sometimes that's the funnest shit.
Our buddy Tim, that he's not in this current group, but he was in our group last season before we went online. He notoriously did things that you were not expecting. Did you ever watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Have you ever watched
I've seen maybe an episode or two.
He's like one of the reminds me of the character Charlie Day in there, where he's just always like wild card bitches. Like you never can expect like
pocket sand.
Like he would just rape whistle. What are you doing? Like he would just come up with things, and you're just like, and I as a dungeon master find it fucking awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Watching
the reactions to everybody else from when Tim would come up with whatever he's going to do. And they would even
tell him about the horse. Just fucking tell him.
So in our game that, and I think this episode, we might have to throw that episode up just for the hell of it. The audio is going to be rough, but it's still so funny. The previous group was on the run from these bounty hunters, and they had killed some of the bounty hunters. The bounty hunters were like a conglomerate. So there was a huge force of bounty hunters looking for the group.
So now it's not just about the bounty, it's about the fact they've killed a couple of their numbers.
Yeah,
now it's personal and there's money involved.
And not only did they kill them, they took their outfits because they all kind of wore like the same garb, kind of like the hand, like in Ninja Turtles or whatever, or the foot.
Yeah, the foot.
They all wore like the same garb. So they take their garb to like disguise themselves as bounty hunters of the same group, but they take off, and they take their horses as well. So on their way escaping from the bounty hunters that are not far behind, but they don't know how far, like they know they're being chased. Mm-hmm. And there was such a huge bounty placed on their heads that it wasn't just this conglomerate. There was other people like, hey, we got to get this bounty. Like
everybody's
these guys
looking for a piece of it.
These guys are worth a lot of money, and So they come across this group, this like caravan that's like broken down. A couple of the wagons, their wheels are broken, and they're trying to fix the wagons. So they come up on this group, and they're
didn't he notice somebody kind of following us?
Oh yeah. So when they come up on this group, he makes a perception roll and sees that there's someone off to the side of the group watching them, the party. And he's like, oh, okay. I go, yeah. I go, you can tell it's a human female. She's wearing like robes, but she's kind of like standing behind these trees looking at you. But she's wearing similar garb to what this group is wearing from this caravan. So he gets off of his horse, and the girl comes walking up towards him, and she's probably about 20 feet away, but she's behind the group. Now, he's the only one that sees her, and he doesn't tell the group, hey, there's someone coming from behind. He gets off of his horse. Now, this is what I wasn't expecting. He goes, I smacked the horse on its ass and sent it charging at her. And I draw my weapons. I said, what?
It goes, okay.
And everyone else
Reactions
goes,
are like that, or this is why you don't have a girlfriend.
and then everyone, everyone's reaction at the table was fucking priceless. Because one, we need these fucking horses. We're wanted. We need to run. You just fucking got rid of yours because your fucking horse went running, and it was never your fucking horse to begin with. So your chances of it just fucking stopping
and coming back.
Yeah. Now you're gonna have to send someone else on horseback to go get your fucking horse, you knucklehead. Oh, it's so fucking funny. But to watch them do it, like I was not how do I say it? I never know what to expect when Tim is playing because he does shit that was like, is he gonna fuck this up? You know, they'll put together.
What do? I throw my horse at her.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, no, the horse is for riding. Your weapons are for attacking.
You ever watch Ron White?
Oh, absolutely.
When he's talking about his dog that was killing the chickens, and he's like,
I've seen that one.
He's talking about, you know, when a dog starts killing chickens, he ain't never gonna stop killing chickens. You can talk to that dog, hey, don't kill the chickens, and the dog will say, okay. I'm gonna kill the chicken. That's Tim. Tim, what are you doing? Okay. I'm gonna kill the chicken.
They call me tater salad.
Yeah, but Tim's just
we bust into this room, right? There's a big ass chandelier, and it's held up by like a rope, right? And there's like some enemies or whatever underneath that chandelier area.
Oh, this is like a classic Western moment, yo. Cut the rope.
Right. Now he's like, I'm gonna shoot at the rope and drop the chandelier on everyone. You know, okay. Probably a pretty hard shot. You're probably gonna need like a 20. All right. Like
this is probably not going to work. Okay.
Yeah. I shoot at the rope. Now everyone else is in melee. We're fighting. We're getting attacked because they got the numbers, right?
So you guys are under the chandelier too.
Missed.
No.
Missed.
Oh, okay.
They're not under the chandelier.
Now the next turn, I'm gonna shoot at the rope. I'm gonna take another shot. We're like, motherfucker, will you put some DPS on these bitches? You know, because he's playing a ranger. Mm-hmm. You know, that could put some really good.
Yeah, you can start dropping guys. At least dropping their health.
Shoot that fucking rope. We're like, oh my god.
And then he winds up getting like a sword fight with the guy.
Oh, a duel.
Duel. And the guy, Tim was rolling horribly, and the guy that he was fighting was rolling decent. And the guy's like talking shit to him the whole time, and it was entertaining role play with the fight. But everyone's wanting to jump in to help Tim's character because Tim's character was just like
he was getting beat.
He was getting
good.
He was getting his ass beat.
And he's a dueling ranger or something. That was his class. Some like a I don't know, some sort of duelist.
2-weapon fighting style thing. But yeah, he didn't do too hot. And then we had one of our other buddies that games. He's not part of our group, but he's showed up a couple times. our friend Doug, he came in and he sat in and played like an NPC. Now this was the guy that
Was trying to kill the rest of the party.
yeah, his job, the NPC was to kill the rest of the party, but he had like a cool backstory that he was like a slave goblin, and they freed him, but he was really an assassin sent by the main bad guy to kill the group.
Yes,
Well,
he
those
was a goblin.
But he was a
classic
goblin.
reversals where you realize that the person you freed was locked up for a good reason.
Right. Well,
He was never freed. He was never locked up.
no, but
Oh.
he pretended to be a prisoner.
Okay, so they thought that he was that they were rescuing him, but he was basically just kind of
Well,
sitting in an
the
unlocked
group was
cell,
using
or-
him for information, like, oh, well, this goblin was obviously he did something to piss these guys off here because he was in shackles, and so they let him free, and then in Tim fashion, he kind of goes away from the group to like investigate the hallway
Some
or
ruins or something.
there was like some etchings on a wall at the end of this hallway. Now, the party had gone farther away.
We're like 75, 80 feet away in another room.
Like down like an L-shaped hallway.
Yeah.
So they're like around the corner. Too far away to hear them.
out of sight.
And so Doug texts me because like Doug is a real good role player, and Doug's sitting at our table, and Doug texts me, who's the guy that went off by himself, and
Can I kill him?
and I go, oh, that Tim's guy. He goes, oh, okay. Now at the time, they were kind of using Doug's NPC as like a mule. They're like, hey, we need the rope that Tim's guy has. Go get the rope from Tim. And he goes, okay. And he walks away from the group. And Doug texts me, who's the guy that went away from the group? I go, Tim's guy. He's over down the hallway. He goes, okay. I kill him. and I'm reading the text, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, because he does a lot of damage for backstab. And he fucking killed Tim's guy. Like, he dropped him.
It was like one or two shots.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. He did a lot of damage
He
the
didn't
first
kill him,
shot, but he's almost dead.
He was almost dead. But
And-
he went to 0 life. He was on the ground, but he didn't die yet.
No, he was still alive, but he didn't yell for nobody. And the next round, he attacked him again. He didn't yell, nothing. We're like, dude, why didn't you yell?
Right,
But
Nope.
here's the kicker. He didn't turn around to see who it was that attacked him. He got
We never
backstabbed.
knew.
So he never seen who it was that got him. So
So even if he survives, he can't,
yeah, they
can't
didn't-
tell the rest of the party
They
who
still
was
didn't know that it
stabbing
was. This went on for like 2 episodes where they didn't know that he was the bad guy that was ultimately going to double cross him. So it was quite entertaining how that was all played out. But
D&D Among Us edition.
yeah, exactly. It was pretty good, and it was funny because the party was torn. There was several people in the group that were like, "We don't trust this goblin. We should kill him." And so there was like a huge debate. Now Eric was playing a dwarf paladin at the time, so he's like, "We can't kill him. It's not just." He was doing the whole, hoity-toity paladin.
Yeah, playing the
This
just and righteous one.
he was a prisoner of these guys. He's offered to help us. We can't just kill him. Where Topher and everyone else is like, the goblin's name was Boobla, and they kept calling him Plop Plop. And he's like, I think Plop Plop needs to die. I'm like, oh no, dude, that's great. Yeah, it's one of our guy that's watching. He goes, the only time we use cell phones should be used like that. He goes, because passing notes is suspect.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because people metagame.
Oh yeah. Whenever anyone passed a note during the game, everyone else gets so paranoid. Like, what is he doing?
I was playing a rogue. I passed a note,
Yeah.
and I was stealing treasure or something. The note read, I have a pet dog. I have my pet dog watch some other people while they're in this room reading books or some kind of shit, and while other people went, okay, so that was already. I'm the rogue. I'm gonna steal shit, and
Yeah.
I was just like, come on,
yeah, the group,
man.
the group pretty much turned on it in that game. The same guys that we play with instantly said, "Oh, he's out to get us."
Because I'm fast enough. I'm like, really?
It's a funny thing because you get so used, in an RPG where you've got like kind of that omniscient viewpoint, where even after the party splits up and these guys go over that hill and these guys are working on this or they're in different rooms or whatever, you're still aware of everything that's going on because you're all sitting at the same table.
Right.
But the moment something happens where that enforces it in real life, where like they start whispering amongst themselves, like, well, you don't know what they're doing. They're in a different room. You're doing your own thing.
Right.
But I have to know everything. This isn't fair.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Yeah. As I've even done that sometimes for my kids, where somebody gets up to go to the bathroom, and then it's like an in-game effect, like, well, because their character walked off to do something or whatever, like, so what are you doing? Okay, you're going off to do this. Okay, I'm going to the bathroom. Okay, he left. Here's what happens. And they come back and have no idea what's going on. Well, that's easy to role play because you really don't know what's going on.
In that same earlier game, not the current game that we're running now, but the previous game, they were in a tavern setting, and because of the bounties that they got on their head, so one of them gets a Mickey slipped in his drink, and it was so funny because it wound up this whole episode wound up turning into like another side adventure because Topher's character was sure that he knew who slipped him the Mickey, but the thing was it wasn't even the guy. But instead, they wound up invoking the wrath of a high-level assassin who just happened to be at this tavern, and then the assassin's like, well, if there's a bounty on these guys' head, well, let me find out about this. And so then now this high-level assassin was one of my childhood buddies that I used to game with. It was his character from when we were from back in the 80s. So shout out to Chris, California. What's up, bro? I think he's watching this from work right now.
Awesome.
Chris's character is pretty badass, and he winds up like chasing down the group, and that's how they wound up getting sabotaged at the feast on the ship and all that. So yeah, it was just a whole series of events, all because one of the players made the wrong assumption, and it just totally went to like another story arc that I had to like write up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm good at like wherever you guys want to go, I can roll with it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm pretty good at ad-libbing, and you won't even know I'm ad-libbing because I'll have maps, I'll have stuff. Damn, okay, man, he's ready for that. No, I wasn't, but I'm good at.
I'm gonna make this look good.
I'm good at shooting from the hip. Like, okay, under fire, I'm pretty good. So.
Yeah, I've got a couple of like Facebook groups and stuff that I'm in. Because like I said, it's been a long time since I've done anything. So when now all of a sudden I go from like, oh, I could do this with my son, to now I've got like 5-6 people every 2 weeks coming over, and I've got to prepare for it and write something. And one of the topics that came up not too long ago is like, for fellow DMs and GMs, what's the talking about situations where you had this whole massive plan and plot drawn out, and then you basically just lay it out there, and then your character's just like, nope, right over here.
Yeah.
And one of them was it was just post after post of people talking about how there's this forest over here, and it's there's all kinds of legends about some creature in it and this and that, and it's like, I want them to go over there. This is really mysterious, and then like the first thing the player characters do is like, well, we're not going over there. That sounds dangerous. It's like, didn't have anything else. So then the whole rest of the campaign was just completely ad-libbed and him just making shit up as he went.
One of the most entertaining players that we've ever gamed with is Keith Majerski.
Really?
He plays.
Talk about wild card.
He is fucking great. I throw 2 zombies walking down the street in the city. I go, you see these looks like dead bodies walking slowly towards you, slumbering and moaning. And Keith goes, "Fuck that! We run. We're out of here. He's the cleric. He's
The
fucking
one guy with
gone.
the least amount of fear.
Anytime he was like the ghost of Mr. Chicken. Any fucking time shit would break out, he's like, "You motherfuckers better run, because we're out of here." He goes, "I ain't healing shit." He goes, "No, dude, it's gonna piss him off." Because one guy gets to know. One of the Tom or somebody was getting in about to get in a battle, and Keith's like, "Don't do it, dude. You're just gonna piss him off, and I'm not gonna heal you."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
I tried
to get a healer in the party.
I wanted to get Keith into this game. I'm like, dude, you gotta switch crews so you can play with us, because his wild card factor is fucking. He's internet gold.
He's got a handful of wild cards.
Yeah. Like,
Here, you pick one. Here, take it.
You gotta wonder if, to some extent, there's like an inability to interface with reality that translates into just absolute randomized chaos that just also happens to be absolutely hilarious.
Oh,
I mean,
it's great.
yeah, you gotta love those situations where it's something just completely unexpected. That curveball hits you from left field, and you're just okay, roll with it. But,
Big time,
man,
dude.
Those are the best moments. Those are the things you didn't see coming. Because if you see it coming, it's just like, okay, yeah. I mean, how good is a movie or a book where you turn the page, you're like, yep, that's what I thought was going to happen. But when you turn the page, you're like, what? And then you got to know where's it going from there, because I didn't plan for this, and then it just explodes from that point on.
Oh, dude, it makes
Love it.
for great stories, and it's like people that don't game or that don't play, they're missing out on such a entertaining evening.
Oh, absolutely.
If they can get in the right group.
Yeah.
I mean, because there have been groups that we've been a part of where we're like, this is rough, and you got to try to make the best of it. And the hardest challenge is getting people that want to play the game, but they don't want to get into the role play aspect of it. They just want to roll the dice.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to roll the dice. I want to make the most killer character, and I want to kill everything, like murder hobo style.
I was just gonna say, when you end up with murder hobos.
Yeah, and it's like
I want to murder everyone in the village, so I can, I want to increase my character's level, so I can kill more stuff. It's like women and children. Okay, Anakin, settle down. Put down the lightsaber, come back over.
They're worth XP, right? They're worth XP.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little bit, but it all adds up.
And it's like,
caca.
I mean, kind of wondering, what kind of thought process is involved where, you walk into a village and, a woman waves at you. She's got a pie, cooling on the edge of the windowsill. Is anyone else watching? No, she just waved at you. She welcomes you to the village. I stab her in the throat. It's like,
what alignment are you?
Then I eat her pie.
Yeah.
this is not somebody I want to hang out with, in a dark
Is that
alley
pie
with
magical?
no
I can't
witnesses.
identify.
How about the pan? It's in. No?
Yeah, or the other one.
Is that tin made out of silver? We need silver.
Yeah, and they just rob everyone. I mean, but then you got the other end of the spectrum where you've got people afraid to do anything, and or just want to be. And that's you mentioned getting a good group together. It's important to have that balance, because you got some people that they want to be murder hobos and they want to metagame, and they want to just level the character up, and every time they look at a different character, they're looking at what can they do at level 20 and how fast can I get there. How do I get the legendary weapons and how do I get the coolest gear so I can murder everything?
We've got guys in this current group that are like, oh, we got to keep leveling, and I'm like, dude, it's not gonna go like that. We're gonna have fun, and when you're ready, I'll level you up. But it's not. There is no milestones that we need to hit right away.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't about that. This is about I want to see you guys develop as good role players.
Yeah, and then when the new powers come along, then it's easy just to bump, how hard the enemies are.
Yeah, and even like with Devin, this is really his first time playing the game. He started with this last year, but now he's really starting to get into the role playing aspect of his guy. And now if I can get him to enunciate into the microphone, then it'll be even better.
We know the microphone's good.
Yeah, we know the microphone's good. It's just he's fucking. You guys can hear me fine over here. Oh yeah, but yeah, it's
to tee off of that, I was, see, you were talking about too, it's essential to find that right group of people. I mean, ideally, it's a group of friends that can, joke around with each other good naturedly. And, you can throw a couple of shots their way, and we can all laugh, and nobody gets butthurt or insulted. And you got to have a group of people that can have fun together, but then you also need a group of people that at the same time have similar goals and play styles.
Right.
Oh, right.
So you don't want, two murder hobos and then somebody who just wants to role play with no combat. Like, I want to go talk to the shopkeeper and I want to haggle on the prices, and finding that balance to get a group to mesh together.
And
once you do, it's magic.
I have turned away a lot of gamers that I've known for years or whatever because I know they're not going to work with what we got. And then we had, like last year before we went live, we had to get rid of a player because they just didn't have the same mindset as us. And by doing that, it kind of established a precedence with the current players that, Sean's not fucking around. I'm like, look, if you're either on the bus or you're not, and I'm not pulling any punches. If I'm going to spend the time to try to create a fun story and entertain you guys, you either need to be loyal to being here and don't call me 5 minutes before we're supposed to start recording and go, hey, yeah, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, I changed my mind. No big deal.
Okay, well, I got other people that would love to be a part of this, and you're not going to be. But when I did that, when I cut someone loose that was a close friend of ours from many, many years, it made the other people that were like on the sidelines go, ooh, I don't know if I can hang with these guys. No, then that's fine. You can still watch the show or whatever, and that's cool. But we want players that want to be here. I would rather take a person that's never played before but wants to learn over someone that I've known for fucking 30 years that is not going to...
has a different agenda.
Yeah, that's not going to, do this. And since this has started to, slowly snowball, other people are like, hey, man, you got a spot? No, I don't.
There's a line of... there's a list. So
yeah, there is. There's a list, and that's in the near future we got some cool changes coming, and there's people in the group that are like, they're making assumptions of who I'm going to bring aboard or whatnot, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. I've already got my list, and I'm not. This is my game, bottom line, and I'm not being a jerk about it. I do care about the inside of the players. But if I know what we need for the group.
Yeah, and it's also too. It's about, again, we were talking about getting that right group.
Right.
That's what makes role playing fun, when you get with the right people. But when you get someone that's not going to fit with the group, cutting them loose isn't necessarily just my way or the highway. You don't like it, you can leave. I mean, it's also. It's kind of like a relationship.
Oh, it is.
You don't want to stay in a bad relationship just because you don't want to go through the breakup, because ultimately the sooner you cut them loose, the better it is for both of you. So,
right.
Yeah, you let that person stay on if it's not going to work out.
It was a thing where I tried talking to him beforehand and saying, look, you got to change this because I can't keep doing this. So, and when I had to have that conversation, I'm like, look, I'm not saying I don't want to be your friend. I'm not breaking up with you. You know what I mean? It's not like ending the bromance or whatever the hell you want to call it. I go, right now you're going to be mad at me? That's fine. But eventually at some point you're going to see what I was talking about.
Yeah, because if you'd gone down that road, eventually neither of you would have been happy.
Oh, right, exactly.
And it's better to do that early on.
I mean, and since then our relationship has gotten better because they've seen the error of their ways. And maybe down the road we'll bring them back on board. But, I mean, right now, with our current lineup, the decisions that I've made I think are the best ones for the future of this group. I mean, this club that we've created, I see a longevity, whether it makes it to be super famous or whatever. I don't care. This is a video record of our history together, and I like doing round tables like this where we can get people in, shoot the shit, spitball ideas, talk about whatever we want to talk about, and it shows that, hey, we're not just focused in on, it's just got to be all about the Dummy Club. No, we're going to talk about whatever.
Yeah, we've been all over the map.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah, dude. I mean, that's just how we do. How long have we been going here? I can't read that.
Hour and 30.
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up here, I think.
I think our last one was
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
See, at work, my coworkers call this a Duggansing, where I can start off on one little subject, and that leads to another, and then there's a tangent off of that.
You started again.
But
Darren.
then I feel...
You started again.
What?
Yeah.
Huh? Exactly.
Hey.
See? It's a Duggansing.
Earlier,
It happens all the time.
earlier, Dave and I, this was last night we were talking about, like, well, what are we going to talk about? I go, trust me. I go, I've got no worries. Don and I, we will be able to talk about whatever, and we will have a decent show, because it's not,
I don't know if we have enough material.
Yeah.
No. I could talk about anything.
So.
My wife can send me out for a gallon of milk. I'll come back 2 fucking hours later. Where were you? Oh, I met somebody. We'll walk out of an elevator in like a doctor's office, and the kid has a doctor's appointment, and we get off the elevator, and the person we were in the elevator with like walks down the hallway, and my kids are like, Dad, did you know them? I'm like, no, total stranger. We just struck up a conversation, start bullshitting.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun.
So, but I think with that, we're going to wrap up this, our second edition of the D&D Dummy Club Roundtable. So, again, I'm Sean Crow. That's Don Duggins, Dave Acosta. We appreciate you guys checking us out. And next Sunday, we will have our normal game, but it will be a new time slot. I'll try to figure out putting that on Twitch so people can get the message. 2 p.m. Central Time, and we're going to go till 8 p.m. That night. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys there. And again, thanks for checking out our show.